Oh, that was a bite. Oh, he's on there. That wasn't a bite. He inhaled that thing. Holy cow, there we go. Some early morning action. Good morning, guys. That bait is disappeared. That's why it just knocked slack in that line as I was reeling it. Anyway, guys, I'm Travis Moran, and today we're talking small, soft plastic swim baits. Guys, these are absolutely crucial to have in your tackle box because of how versatile they are. When they're used on little underspins or on little ball heads, they can be fantastic for finicky, tough to catch bass, but they can also be used as trailers on so many different lures as well. The versatility of these things, how much you're actually going to use these things is unbelievable. That's why you've always got to have them in your tackle box. So we are using V&M's Thunder Shad Jr. today to break down the different ways of throwing this thing and hopefully giving you guys some confidence to go out and catch some fish with it. So let's break down this technique, starting with rigging. All right, V&M Baits has done an outstanding job over the last few years coming out with quality baits. And this Thunder Shad is no exception. The reason these baits are so effective is because of the size and the action of them. The small little size really is the same size as a lot of the bait fish and prey that these bass are feeding on throughout the entire country. Whether it's ponds or lakes, whatever it is, this size is the bass's kind of go-to little size. Then the action mimics something very lifelike. It's a great little action that entices strikes in the hardest conditions in the wintertime through March, summer, any time of the year, these baits can catch fish. Now, the simplest ways to actually rig this are on a little ball head. The weight can vary depending on how deep you're trying to fish. Or what we're gonna do today is rig it. We're gonna spice up that little ball head with an underspin. And this adds a little flash, adds a little bit more vibration to this nice lifelike looking swimming action. Then I'm spooled up with 10 to 12 pound mono or fluorocarbon on a medium speed gear ratio. And then I pair that up with my hybrid stick, which is a 7-foot medium moderate fast action rod, a great all around fishing rod for these conditions. But that's not the only way you guys can rig these. The reason you need to have these baits on you all the time is because of how many different things you can put a trailer on. You can use them as a trailer. Because they've got that little bait fish profile, it really spices up any kind of bladed bait, like a chatter bait, a buzz bait, and a spinner bait. Now, these bladed baits, they make the noise, they draw these fish in, but when you have a little swim bait on there, that's where the fish will actually go to strike. And that's actually where the hook is, so that's where you're gonna get these higher percentage hookups. Anyway, now that we have a couple of ways of actually rigging these things, let's head out on the water and do some fishing, talk about retrieval. All right, when I'm retrieving this, I'm usually either paralleling the shoreline or open water. It's very versatile because of the different water depths that I can fish this in. Just by speeding up a retrieve or lifting that rod tip up, I can get it up higher in the water column, but dropping that rod tip, slowing down the retrieve, I can get this bait along and bumping that bottom to search out some different structure and things down there. So very versatile lure that you can change up these different retrieves throughout the cast. So if I'm fishing parallel to a bank like this, I've got this kind of medium speed retrieve right here, and I'm just cruising along. Every once in a while, I'll change things up. I might reel it in a little bit faster to keep it on the surface, see if they really want it just below that surface, or I can try some casts where I'm reeling a little bit slower and I'm bumping the bottom there. Then, like always, I like to throw a little bit of twitches or jerks of that rod tip just to give that bait a little something different. Sometimes when you're reeling, bass will go up and check something out and they'll just start following it because it just looks interesting to them. And if you give it a little bit of that twitch of the rod tip or a quick turn of the handle, that bait will do something erratic, and that a lot of times can trigger that fish because that fish thinks that bait has just now spotted it. It's going to try to get away, and that's when the bass goes in for that strike. Guys, when you're mimicking bait fish, when you've got something that looks like what the majority of the fish are feeding on in that body of water, you're gonna catch all kinds of stuff. Anything that likes to eat these little bait fish is gonna come eat this bait. And that's a big old crappie right there. I like it. Now, when I'm fishing open water, there's two different approaches that I'm going for. Sometimes I'm chasing those schooling active bass that are chasing bait in the back of creek channels and whatnot. Now for this, I just make long casts out in this creek channels, and have a steady retrieve. I'll give it little twitches and stuff to really draw in attention for this bait to be able to track it down and strike it. But you want to make sure you have clear water conditions. You want that clear water clarity, so these fish, you might be fishing in 30 feet of water, but only 5 to 10 feet under the surface. These fish need to be able to see this bait from a long ways away. So if you have real dark, dingy water, this is not going to be as effective as a technique for you. But today what I'm doing is I'm actually fishing the bottom. And I'm trying to really feel out the contour of the different structure down there. So I'm in an area that I know has got a lot of bottom, a lot of things down there for these fish to hang out in. And so what I'm doing is making long casts, putting that rod tip down, and I'm making a slow retrieve. And I'm really trying to bump and really feel out that entire bottom. As much as I'm feeling it bump down there, I know it's in the right strike zone. That blade isn't going to be spinning the entire time. It's just going to be flashing and stuff between bumping on there. And it really kind of creates a lot of action from that bait and can really generate some good strikes out of these fish. So I make one cast on one side of the boat, another cast on the other side. And what I'm doing is just trying to come in contact with as much structure as possible down there. And when it comes to location, all spots can be productive at the right time of the year. But with a bait like this, you can fish different water columns, you can retrieve it fairly quickly, so you can actually fish a lot of different water throughout a day. So when you're going down some of these banks that look good, I've got tules, trees, some shade, all kinds of different factors in there that make it look really nice. I'm gonna go fish down a stretch, fish it a few hundred yards. If I don't get bit, then I'm gonna actually go fish something that looks different, whether it's facing it's the other side of the bank of the lake, so it's facing a different way to the sun, or it looks totally different structure wise. I'm gonna find something different until I actually do find some fish. But once I do get bit, I want to immediately identify where I got that bite. If it's in front of a tree, then I want to go, okay, why are these fish in front of the tree? Was it in the shade? Was there weeds in front of that tree? And can I find more of those areas? And so you want to start honing in on those little details. And if you can do that, you can maximize your time in front of the productive areas where there's going to be fish. Now, when I'm fishing open water, there's a couple different ways to locate fish. If they're actively schooling and stuff, you just look for them, coming up to the surface boiling or something, or you can just fan cast to where they are if you've seen them earlier in the morning or whatnot. But when you're trying to find structure to actually fish out in open water, the first thing is always use your graph. You can look for structure and stuff if you have good graphs, and then you can go through it and really work it thoroughly. But if you're like the majority of people and don't have, expensive electronics on your boat, you can actually look at the bank. I always look for what's on the shoreline, and if there's boulders or if there's some kind of humps and stuff on the shoreline, then I'll expand out from there. I'll go, okay, I can reasonably expect there to be, similar stuff a little bit further out from that, and I'll work this bait along the bottom, and I'll feel out if there is. And if there is, I'll keep making casts deeper and deeper until I find the fish or until I can't find any structure, and then I'll keep moving. But a great way to find different stuff out there, fan cast, and with this bait, you will be able to find new things, find that new structure down there, and get the bites that you're looking for. All right, guys, these little soft plastic swim baits, fantastic little baits at getting fish to strike. Whether you have it on a little ball head or sexied up with a little underspin like this, it's a great way to effectively work down a bank and find active areas. Or you can move out into open water, locate those schooling fish, or slow down, let that bait work the bottom, and really learn that area, feel out the bottom, find where that structure is, and find where those hunkered down bass are. And that's only by just using the bait by itself. Then you can throw it as a trailer on a chatterbait, buzzbait, spinnerbait, Alabama rig, and really make those baits work very well also. And the reason being is this little profile is the profile of so many little bait fish in lakes, ponds throughout the country. This is the size and action that these fish are honing into, so it's gonna work pretty much everywhere. So you guys, the V&M Thunder Shad, check it out. This is definitely something you should have in your toolbox. Anyway guys, I'm Travis Moran. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. That's all you need to do. Until next time, I'll see you out on the water.